Well, back to the Garth Riley Show. You know, if you've been watching the previous segments, you've seen this kind of liberating and enlightening conversation. Listen, here's the deal. You know what? All we want as human beings is to be able to have a legal system that we feel that we have a fair shot at. Unfortunately, without enough money and enough posturing, enough knowledge, a lot of us will go in and not have a great opportunity to experience the justice system as we think it works. Correct. My two guests today say that it hasn't worked for them. They say that there needs to be more, and supposedly I would imagine so. But hey, it's a growing industry. So, you know, The Brutal Truth, the author here, Marilyn Garshowitz is here, and Rob Goodnough, who is now the proud resident of a trailer when he used to live here, but then he got bit and then got arrested for being assaulted himself, and then, you know, allegedly, and the next thing you know is that you know, now here you are. Here you are, bankrupt, lost your company, lost the promise of things. They're still wrestling for, you know, controlling of the kids. I mean, all this kind of stuff. You still have these issues that go on.
Right. I'm right now being ordered to pay $1,600 a month in child support. At the time, first I was unemployed. How do you pay $1,600 a month in child support if you're unemployed? I now make.
How do you do that?
You sell everything you own. You borrow from all your friends. You cash in the last of your RSPs. You take the last valuable thing you have, and you sell them for peanuts. I had patents on my products. I sold them for peanuts. I turned around and I took half that money and I gave it to the Family Responsibility Office with the understanding that would forward pay me for my monthly child support while I tried to get this thing corrected, this total injustice corrected. And I asked them to forward pay me. What did they do? They applied it to the arrears that the judge had imputed income for income that I never made.
So, yeah, so they're, okay, so you were basically euchred.
I was euchred.
Yeah, thanks.
That's politely.
Yeah, you want to use an F word. Now, interesting enough that, you know, when you were in there, you tell us your experience. Again, I am not there to say it, but this is your story.
That's the transcripts from the court.
This is a transcript from the court. So that's the court reporter taking the notes.
Right.
You have these. Are you entitled to have these?
Yes.
Okay.
I paid $1,200 for those.
You paid that. Did you pay the $1,200
to the court reporter?
So the court reporter for this, so they get paid pretty well. Okay. So this paperwork is now, which is supposed to be yours. You paid $1,200 and change to get it. Okay, you got it. Right. Now what happens? How do you use
There's
this?
proof in there that I gave all the disclosure.
In this case here, let's catch it up again. So you ended up in a court case where the lawyer, the next court case, was saying that you didn't give.
I didn't give disclosure. That's what he claimed.
But the accuser said that you actually did. Right. So you did give. So it was the lawyer in this case that had the facts wrong, presenting it to the judge.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
I had actual documentation proving under oath, my ex-spouse saying I'd given her everything she'd asked for.
Okay.
I thought it was valid proof. And I presented this to the judge, and I was reading from the pages, and I said, here it is, Your Honor, right where she claims that she got it.
Okay.
And that should null and void the whole thing. I was in court trying to appeal this imputed income, this wrong injustice.
Which is this one, the old history saying I can't afford it, it's wrongly assessed, etc. Right.
Right.
So
where I had actually hired a lawyer to file my appeal. He filed it with the wrong court. He filed it with Osgood Hall in Toronto. He should have filed it with Newmarket Court in Newmarket, Divisional Court.
He made a mistake.
He made a mistake. So then I ordered the transcripts. The court reporter sent the certificate of ordering the transcripts to the right court.
Right.
The two documents didn't meet up. They dismissed my appeal. No fault of my own. Don't forget here that the opposing lawyer actually consented to my appeal. He knew it was with merit. I had 7 valid points of what mistakes were made, including sending out all the documentation to the wrong address.
So now what I want to do is figure out, so you're in court and you open up this document and you present it to the judge.
I'm reading from it.
You're reading from it, and the judge says to you,
can I see that, sir?
So you think,
okay,
because you're not experienced in legal terms, you don't decide to figure out how to make sure you get it back. You go, judge is asking, you're going to go get to the judge.
Sure.
Right? Normal procedure.
What does he do? He reads that from cover to cover, and he says, now I can see why they could impute income. Well, wait a minute here. You didn't have all the facts before you. The first judge didn't have all the facts because he never looked at the disclosure.
Right.
He never looked at the proof. He just went and he said, I have the right to impute income because you didn't cooperate, which was the farthest thing from the truth. Right. That's the real injustice of this thing. I complied 100%.
So what happened was then you asked the judge for this back, and he said,
no, I'm keeping it, sir.
Right.
That's my document I paid for.
Right. Now, if you'd enter into contract with them, I'm no lawyer, but I understand if you give something to somebody, say on the agreement that you will give that back to me in a timely manner that I stipulate. Right. And if you say that to the judge, I know some guys have gone to court for themselves. They start talking to the judge like that. The judge is like, "Who are you?" And now either they're going to respect you or they're going to try and bury you. Right. That's the stories I've heard.
This was the same judge that saw or was pointed out to him that I was recording the hearing myself.
Which you're allowed to?
Which I'm allowed to do
under
Section 136 of the Courts and Justice Act. And I pointed that out to the justice. I said, I'm fully allowed. I'm a self-represented litigant. These are for my own personal notes. I'm allowed to do this. He told me to shut it off. And I repeat it. Justice Howden, Chief Justice Howden, in 1989 ruled that I could do this. I even cited case law where, recent as 1 year ago, a litigant challenged being told to shut off his tape recorder, and he won in court. And I cited that case law, and the justice came back after a short brief, and he said, "Sir, we can spend all day arguing this point, or we can hear your matter. What would you like to do?" I am telling you to shut it off. I had to shut it off.
What if you didn't?
I noticed out of the corner of my eye that court security had been brought into the court.
Right.
And I don't know what would happen.
So this goes back to what you talk about, Marilyn, is that there is an abuse of power. That you are being strong-armed. In your opinion, it looks like you're being abused, implied abuse. That's happened to you over and over again in your career of, from being in foster homes right on down. It's something that you've unfortunately attracted.
Yeah.
I don't know how you got it. I mean, somehow you've become the lightning rod for this.
Well, I had to think that it was so I could become knowledgeable and make a difference. I had to make my negative positive, because I know well, and I have the compassion, maybe, and the
watch
passion.
How you hit that microphone, you just kill our sound people.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'm just kidding. So, but you have the compassion. You're built for it. It's kind of like what I do here. So the point of the matter is that in your story here, that you know what, it can happen to anybody, and it does.
It does.
The abuse of power, not just in the legal system, not just in the court system, but we're also talking about in the workplace.
Yeah.
We're talking about the schoolyards.
Yeah.
We're talking about in domestic relationships.
All of it. It's systemic, and you have to go at that level and see if you're going to make changes. You have to see the big picture, that it's everywhere, and that it has to be dealt at that level. And certain things have to be addressed, like victim blaming mentality.
Okay, so let's go back to that. Victim blaming mentality is kind of like what we used to hear of years ago was when girls would complain in this old court cases when they were being raped, that before we had the awareness we have today, that they were being blamed that they somehow maybe they even have to say they somehow invited the violation.
That's right. That's right. I wanted to use the example of 4 women at the facility that I worked at as a correctional officer. They all had been sexually harassed by one, and one was even raped by one of same individual, a staff. I'm not talking about
allegedly raped.
Allegedly.
Thank you.
So the conversations going on with them, they went together to talk to management. And this is before I was even there. And they were told, if you go forward with this complaint, you will all lose your jobs. And they all systematically went different ways with how they dealt with the situation.
Right.
Because you're told to come forward with a complaint, but if you come forward with the complaint, there was no problem until you said there was a problem. So they want to shut you down. So you have the whistleblower issue.
Yeah, so I mean...
It's huge. Okay. It's huge.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, here's the deal. Like, I've been that guy that's gone charged. I love the scene from Animal House. I don't know if you ever watched it, but my party days I did. And there's a scene in there with John Belushi who is trying to rally all these couch surfing potato guys to take charge and save their the alumni house. And they decided to, so he makes this whole big speech, and he's got all the music in the background. He says, "Come on, we're going to change the world, and we're going to change this." And he says, "Come on, let's go." And he runs out the door, and nobody follows him. And my point is that when you're out like this, when you do these kind of things, sometimes you're standing all alone. We'll be right back with more of Marilyn Garshowitz and also with Rob, I'm losing names here, Goodnough, to talk a little bit more about what's going on.